Eddie, how's the injury situation ahead of Wolves? Are there any new problems?
We've got Joe Willock's got a slight knee problem that's been there for, I'd say, a couple of weeks. So we're going to make a late call on him. We don't think it's anything serious, but certainly he's become a little bit more aware of it in training, and I think it's something we just need to stay on top of.
Is there anyone else that you're worried about?
Not apart from the long termers. There's been a bit of illness in the camp for a while, actually. I'd probably say for 3 or 4 weeks. And when these things go through your squad, you're always picking up the effects of it. So we still have had some illness this week, and players struggling to get rid of things they've been carrying for a while. After
4 away matches in a row and 6 of your last 7 on the road, how nice will it be to be back at St James's Park, and how could it help you?
Yeah, it's massive for us to be back at home. It does feel like a long time. We have had a very intense period of away games, and we knew that was on the fixture list, the way the rearranged games fell, and we knew it was going to be a real tough examination of us. And yeah, I think we've been away from home too long, so it'd be great to get back, play in front of our crowd, and try and generate that atmosphere. When I look back to our recent home games, it's been electric there.
And following on from the Spurs game last weekend, how important do you think it is for people to remember the strides that you've made over the last few months, going from bottom of the table to a position where losing last weekend didn't really affect where you were in the league? Because there was some criticism from supporters of the way things got away from you in the second half.
Yeah, and rightly so. I think there should be criticism for our second half performance. Certainly I was very critical of it, and I know the players were disappointed with it as well. So we've got no issues taking that. I do feel we've made great strides in recent months, but I think you're always accountable to your recent performances, and that's how football works. That's how it should work. So we have to respond now, and we're looking forward to be given the opportunity to do that.
What sort of challenge will you face against a team that plays the way that Wolves do?
Yeah, big challenge, because I think they're very good away from home. Their record's been very good all season. They're a team that are tight at the back. They've got very good defensive structures, and they've got players that can hurt you with the ball as well. So they've had an outstanding season. I think they've been very consistent. If you look through the season, I think they've had very few bad spells within the season. So I think they're going to be a very tough team to play against. But we believe we can beat anybody when we've got our A game, and we need to bring it.
Lastly, I just wanted to ask you about a couple of players that haven't been playing recently. Firstly, Matt Ritchie, who has been back on the bench recently, having recovered from injury. What sort of role do you see Ritchie having between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, big role. Had quite a serious knee injury. Recently came back. Had minimal training time, so he was probably put on the bench before he was ready to be. But due to numbers, that opportunity was given to him. But I think now we've gone away, had an intense period of training with him. I think he's in a much better place physically. But he's a player that I trust, I admire, I really like, and he's got a big part to play on and off the pitch, because he is a really big voice in the dressing room.
And the other, Federico Fernandez, who was a key player in the 3 seasons before this one, but for various reasons this year, under different managers, he hasn't really featured that much, and I know there's been an injury recently as well. Does he have a part to play still this season? Yeah,
no, he does. He's very similar to Matt. He's a big voice. He's definitely a leader of the group. Great character. I love Fedi. Really level guy, but very, very intelligent, and I think he knows what the group needs. He's had various injuries since I've been here. I wouldn't say at this moment in time he's 100% fit, but he's building up his resilience. He needs more training time. As I say, he's had various injuries that have just knocked him slightly, but he's someone that we can rely on when we need him to, and never let us down. He's one of those great characters that every squad needs. We're delighted to have him.
Thanks, Eddie.
Okay. Eddie, you said that a few of the lads have got issues with illness, and they have for the last few weeks. Is that likely to rule anything out for this match tomorrow?
We will. Well, we'll see. We've still got time before the game kicks off. But yeah, the illness side, there's obviously something. Of course, you've got COVID as a problem, and we have been affected by that in recent weeks. But there seems to be an illness that's going around that maybe not COVID that we've suffered with. But yeah, we'll wait and see whether anyone misses the game.
And you just said a moment ago, you said we've been away from home for far too long now. How much do you feel that has punished you and your team?
I don't know if it's punished. It's punished us. I think it's something we knew we had. We had obviously before the away games, we had a run of home games, and I think it was great to build that momentum at home and generate the confidence that winning those games gave us. I think if you can step onto the pitch in a comfortable way at home and with the electric atmosphere that supporters generate, it's a great, powerful thing to have. We certainly had that, and I just hope that when we come back, it's like we've never stepped away from St James's. You know, we need that feeling. I think everyone connected with the club knows how important the game is, this next game that we have coming up, and I think that needs to be generated or be felt in the atmosphere, but as always, we have to create that ourselves. As the onus is on us to approach the game in the right way and get the crowd with us.
And I know you admitted last week, you said that we still are in a relegation battle. I suppose further evidence last night by the Burnley-Everton game. How much are you keeping an eye on teams below you, teams round about you as the games tick on?
Well, I think you're aware of the results, but I think we can't control them. For me, we've never been in anything other than a relegation battle, because until we get the points we need, that is always going to be the case. And we know how difficult the Premier League is. We know how important momentum is. Now, we've gone 3 games without winning, and we need to feel that we can wrestle the momentum back. And that's going to be a lot in part down to our attitude and approach to this game, and emphasising the importance of it to the players. But also everyone connected with the club. We really need that feeling of the ground that this is a massive, massive game, and that needs to be reflected by everybody.
I know obviously it's been test after test since you joined the club in November, but is this maybe the first sort of big test of the players coming back from three defeats in a row and a 5-1 reverse at Tottenham?
No, I think that's always been there. I think for every game that we've had since I've been here, we've been playing catch up. You know, we've had a long way back. We were a long way back. We've had a long way to go. So I think there's been pressure on every game. I think the players have been well aware of the tough challenge that we faced. Now, we went through a period where we were able to get points and we were able to lift ourselves up, but there was always going to be a turn back within that. Then it's about how quickly you can react and address it, and we're in that situation now.
Just finally want to ask you on a more wider topic, it looks as though a proposal will be pushed through by UEFA today that will see 2 teams qualify for the Champions League moving forward based on historical results. David Moyes was very critical of it yesterday. Obviously his team doing well at the top of the table. What is your view on that as a Premier League manager? Yeah,
I'd agree with David. For me, I think qualification for Europe and everything linked to that should be based on current performance, not historical. I don't see how that can be fair. I think it's got to be based on what you've done in your last season. That's my opinion.
Thanks, Eddie. Cheers.
Thank you.
Eddie, I know you just said you can't do a lot about results from teams, matches outside of what's going on here. But when you see a result last night, subconsciously or not, does it affect the way you view the running, the tension around the place, when you look at the league table and knowing what's there in front of you?
No, not at all. What affects me is my players, the training that we produce in preparation for the game, and making sure we're at our best level. You can't control any other results or what's going to happen around us. We need to get as many points as we can and hope it's enough.
With that in mind then, given the good run you were on with the run of home games, have you learned a bit more about this group, these players that you have from the last 3 games, and particularly last weekend?
I think you're learning all the time, and I'm certainly learning. I think you learn every day from training, what you see, your interactions with the players, how they're reacting when you're winning, when you're losing. I think last week was a tough experience for us, but hopefully, as I said after the game, hopefully a good thing when we look back, because I think we can realign our thought processes, realign our organisation, because it went missing in the second half, and it wasn't pretty to watch. Certainly, we're not happy with ourselves, and we set very high standards, or we have in recent months, and we need to we have evaluated what went wrong and then try and put it right, and that's what we're in the process of doing.
And finally on Wolves, you've already talked about how well organised they are, but they're still challenging for Europe, and no one really seems to have spoken an awful lot about them this season. Do they fly under the radar a little bit?
Possibly, but that's your jobs in the media to highlight what a brilliant job they've done. You know, Bruno, the manager, I think he's been incredible. Coming into a club that's already been successful is not easy, but he's carried on the recent success they've had, and full credit to him and his players for that.
Thanks very much.
Nisha.
Hi Eddie.
Hi.
And we've talked about how good Newcastle's home form has been, and with these 3 games, are you hopeful that the team's involvement in the relegation battle could be over this three games coming up?
Yeah, well, we hope first and foremost that we approach the Wolves game in the right way, and this is going to be a big week for us, or a big couple of weeks for us, because a run-in on paper looks very, very difficult. So we have to maximise every game. I think it's very difficult to look too far ahead, but we are aware of the fixtures we have to come. So any home game we have in front of our supporters, we have to maximise, we have to give our all, and that has to show in our performance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Conway.
Eddie, hello.
Hi.
There's a lot been written this week that this month is 6 months since the takeover went through. I just wondered if, had the takeover not gone through and the managerial vacancy had become available, would you have been as interested in it?
Yeah, absolutely, I would have been, because of the size of the club, the history, the support base, everything connected with Newcastle. They're the reasons I'll be interested in the job, and I'm absolutely loving the responsibility, the challenge, and the day-to-day job is one that I'm really embracing.
Questions from the floor? Start with Miles.
We potentially could see Bruno Guimaraes get his first home start tomorrow. How much do you think he's going to enjoy playing at St James's, and the fans will enjoy seeing him from the start at St James's?
Yeah, depending on obviously what team we pick. I think Bruno, in the little cameos that he's given at home, has given a glimpse of what he's capable of. I think certainly the supporters have taken to that when they've seen little bits that he's done, and I think he's done very well in the short time that he's had on the pitch at home. I think he's been excellent. He's someone that I've really enjoyed working with. He's very much a winner. He's got a great attitude to his training and the way he conducts himself. So with his sort of flamboyance and his technique comes a steeliness, which is hugely important in his position. So that he plays on the pitch. So yeah, let's see what happens.
I've got Damien, Jordan, Luke, and Lee.
Eddie, when you get to this point of the season and the situation you're in, do you start looking at points totals or targets, or do you just have to, as you usually do, take it game by game? I think
you have to take it game by game. I think, yeah, of course, you'll have an idea of the points that you need, but it can change, and it's always something that's very difficult to predict. I think the minute you start trying to predict results is the minute you waste your time and your energy. So let's just focus on us, and we have to bring a better version of ourselves than we did against Tottenham, especially in that second half. So we're fully prepared to try and do that.
Jordan.
There was a newspaper report over the weekend claiming that Newcastle would be willing to listen to offers for Valentin Maximum. Just what's your thoughts on that? Does a player have a long-term future here for you?
Absolutely, yes. Don't always believe what you read in the papers. You know, I've said difficult for you guys to hear that, but I've got a great relationship with Maxi. I've really enjoyed working with him, and for me, we need. When you look between now and the end of the season, we need Max at his very best levels. He's going to potentially could be the difference between us staying in the league. He's an incredible talent, and yes, of course, he has a long-term future at the club.
Luke Edwards.
A couple if I can. Have the players seen a sort of different Eddie Howe this week after Tottenham, or have you tried to remain pretty level-headed?
Good question, Luke. I'm just trying to
They come about every now and again.
think of the answer. I don't know. I think that's difficult for me to answer. Obviously, I reacted in the way that we spoke in the dressing room after. I think you have to speak frankly and honestly in certain moments. But I'm not one to necessarily talk too long after a game because the emotions are very high and you can from my position, you can make mistakes, I think, in that moment. But certainly this week, without going into too much detail, I've maybe changed the way I've dealt with the players or certain situations, because I didn't like what I saw in the second half, and I think no one connected with the club like what they saw in the second half. And I think it's all a learning process. We have to analyse. I'm a big analyser. Find out why, and then try and put it right.
Just as Chris was saying, it's been 6 months since the takeover went through. What level of change has there been behind the scenes in the time? I know you weren't here at the very start of it, but since you came in.
Yes, as I say, it's very difficult for me to give you any opinion on before I came, and since I've come in, yeah, subtle changes. I wouldn't say dramatic changes, just because we're in the middle of a season, and I think we have so much to do with the team and the players that we have and the way that we want to play. So everything connected with the team's taken a lot of energy and a lot of my focus. The other side of building the club and improving the infrastructure, I think, will come for another day. So probably subtle changes rather than dramatic ones.
Thank you.
So Lee, George, and then Craig.
Yeah, there was just, I seen Sam Allardyce saying that, you know, some of the players have got the flip-flops on. I just wondered if you thought that was a lazy narrative going into the last sort of 8 games.
Yeah, I'm not going to criticise Sam's comments. He's welcome to his opinion, but absolutely not. Absolutely, categorically not. If you see how we train and the detail given to the training sessions and the care that we have to the players, and I know, looking at the players, how much they care.
Yeah.
We've got a great group. I've said that from day one. We really do. They care passionately about their performances, and we were all upset and disappointed with what we delivered on Sunday. So absolutely not. I'll knock that back as strongly as I can.
And just a quick one on Almiron, is he getting better?
Yeah, Miggy has trained this week, so delighted to have him back with us.
George?
My question was actually a bit similar to Lee's one, but after such a brilliant run, wouldn't it be understandable if levels dropped maybe a percentage point here and there, and could that have had anything to do with Spurs, do you think?
No, I don't think it is acceptable, because I think when you care about what you deliver, and I'm speaking on behalf of me and the players here, and I know that they're the same, as I said earlier, that no dropping of intensity, of preparation is acceptable, and regardless of your situation in the league, you have to give your best in every moment. And I don't think that we did drop our effort levels on Sunday. I think it was, as I said after the game, my original assessment then is the same now. I think we were far too cavalier in our way of chasing the game, and we got our organisation wrong. And you do that against the best teams, you get punished ruthlessly, and we did.
Craig?
Just a couple on Bruno. What you said at the top there about you're aware of the need for this atmosphere tomorrow night at St James's Park, and Bruno, through no fault if you're already haven't had home games, he hasn't started at home yet. There's been a lot of talk among supporters of the excitement. If he does start, is that something that's played on your mind? You'll take into consideration that galvanising effect he could have on the atmosphere if he's in from the start?
Not particularly, Craig, to be honest. I don't think necessarily I'd look at the player. I need to pick the best player for the position to try and get the best result for the team. If that player can generate a good atmosphere by just playing, then yeah, all the better in terms of that. But I think I'd be foolish to make a decision based on the reaction of the crowd. It's got to be for what the team needs. Bruno is an outstanding player, so if he does play, he's going to help the team. And as I said, that's the most important thing.
You scored a very good goal during the break as well. You know, it's nice as a manager to have an excuse to watch Brazil. Were you staying up past midnight to watch those games? Or?
I have to be honest, I need my sleep, Craig, so I watched it back. I didn't watch it live. But no, delighted for him on a personal level. You know, to represent your country is an incredible achievement, and you know, obviously he's playing for Brazil. Brilliant moments for him and his family, and the fact that he scored, I know he personally was very pleased.
Okay, got to Martin Hardy.
Has there been a need to address the players collectively this week to kind of put Sonny to bed and to get everyone together for the run in for the home straight?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's very important that second half doesn't linger. I think we had to put it to bed quite quickly while acknowledging what we didn't do right. But you certainly can't let it foster within the group. We have another game, and we have lots of games to come, important games, so it's learn the lessons from it, which there were many, and I think that's the beauty of it in a game like that, where you come away and you can go, right, we can put these things right, we'll become a better team for it. And sometimes when you have an afternoon like that, you can come out a much better team for it.
And do you still think the team has the goals in it to get through the next couple of months?
Yes, I do, because I think, I back our attacking players. Certainly in open play we haven't been as creative as we want to be in recent games, but I think we are a massive set play threat. We have been for a solid amount of time, but I do believe in our creative players as well, and I think if we can just get a bit more rhythm in that respect, then I think we'll obviously become a much better team.
Okay, we've got Ian, Kieran and then Simon. Ian later.
Eddie, forgive me for going off topic. A couple of Scottish papers have asked me for your thoughts on Postecoglou's achievements this season. And secondly, and I suspect I know you answer this one, any thoughts of what might have been?
No, I think he's done an incredible job. I did actually watch the game on Sunday, I think it was, the Old Firm game, and very interesting game. Obviously the atmosphere is always electric, and they're very, very interesting games from a coach's point of view to watch. And full credit to him and his staff and his players for what he's done this season, because it was a team in slight transition, and I think he's been excellent, and in the recruitment as well as players there, I think they've been really, really good. But certainly from my respect, focused on the future for me, and very much embracing everything Newcastle.
Thank you. Kieran? Eddie, going into the final few games of the season, are some of these players still playing for their futures, and have you had to remind them about that?
I think everyone's always playing for their future. Every day in training, I'm making assessments and judgments on character, on attitude, and I think that's where you really see what the players are like behind the scenes, day to day. My expectations on the training ground are very high. I want everyone to give their best in every moment, so that some players can find that a challenge. But I think that's what you need for long-term success. So every day I'm analysing and making decisions about people's futures based on what I see.
I think this is your first Friday night game at St James's. I know you're following in the footsteps of Sir Bobby and Kevin Keegan at your unveiling when you walked around the pitch. The owners have previously said, moving away from St James's would be like ripping out your soul. What's it been like for you managing there? I know you're very focused on match day, but what's that experience been like for you?
It's a difficult one, because as you say, I'm so focused on the game, and you've got to remember when you're managing the team, you're not looking around going, isn't this amazing? You're going, what do I need to do to help the team in this moment? Is there anything I can change or do to help improve our chances of winning the game? So you're sort of in concentration mode the whole match, but I think at the end of it you get that feeling of, wow, what an atmosphere, what a brilliant place to play football. It's like a theatre. I loved it as the away manager. There's not many games or grounds that I can say that about. But as a home manager, I think it takes on a whole new meaning, and I'm loving every second of that.
Simon?
Are you becoming aware that it's a club with huge swings of emotion and mood? From you win a few games and you're headed for Europe, and then you lose 3 and you're headed for relegation. How are you dealing with that as a winner?
By not listening to it, really, by not getting involved in that emotion. I think when we went on our unbeaten run, I was the same. Probably sat here and you're thinking, come on, give us a bit more. But then in the other side of it, I'm exactly the same, and I think it doesn't mean that I don't feel the emotion, because I do. Losing for me is very painful. But I think it's important I don't get caught up in it, because then I've got another game to prepare for. So it's making sure I do my job effectively to help the players perform in the next match.
Yeah, it's kind of part of the soap opera of Newcastle over the last 20, 30 years. There's been those swings of mood and emotion.
Yeah, and I think it's important that look, I embrace the wins, and I love that positive feeling, and I want to see other people happy. I want to see our supporters enjoying success. That's my motivation to do the job. But I don't think it's healthy for me to get caught up in it and become a person of extreme emotion. I don't think that's going to help my players at all. So staying calm, using my brain to think logically and intelligently, I think are the things that I need.
Thank you. Oscar Paul?
Eddie's talking about the theatre of St James's Park and the emotion of the club. I mean, has that been quite a big shock for you coming from Bournemouth, obviously a much smaller stadium? You're now every week in front of 50,000 in a massive city. How big a shock's that been?
No, it's certainly different, but I don't think it's the same. It's the same type of feelings for me as the manager. Losing hurts, winning is a feeling of sort of relief and contentment. And again, I've tried not to get caught up in anything that I shouldn't be. So if you look at me behind the scenes, it's quite it's a strange existence. It's not glamorous in any way. You're working very hard to improve players and to produce the best team you can. The emotion and everything that you see with people celebrating wins and things like that, you're well away from. So it's not necessarily what you think it is.
Any more? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for your time. Thank you. Thank you.